Hello, Charles Galayini here from GSA Insurance Brokers. I'm lucky enough today to be sitting with Panthers Group CEO Brian Fletcher. Brian, thanks for having time for me.
A pleasure, Charlie.
Brian, we've known each other for the best part of 8 years now and had plenty of good conversations on the way. So just thought I'd spend some time with you getting in behind the scenes and letting our fans and our GSA partners hear a bit more about what goes on at the Panthers.
Yeah, no, it'll be good. It's a pleasure to spread our good news out here, so no problems at all with me.
And there's plenty of good news to talk about. We'll get to that in a second because you've got an interesting past with 27 or 28 years at Hawkesbury Races. Can you give us a bit of insight of your time over at Hawkesbury?
Yeah, I did. I came from a little town way out in the bush called Canamble in 1989 to Hawkesbury Race Club as CEO. I spent 28 years there and very enjoyable 28 years. I had a lot of success there. Created things in racing that had never been done, like a standalone Saturday race meeting had never been held in Australia. Now they're everywhere. Punters clubs had never been held. Now they're held everywhere. I built a motel out there and had the standalone Saturday where we took the race meetings off Randwick and Rose Hill, which was after a long fight. And that made the club very successful from a financial point of view as well. So I had a wonderful time there, and 28 years I thought, well, when I got offered the job to come over to Panthers, that I'd done what I could there and just try something new before I retire.
So you came across on the board originally of the Panthers?
Yes, back in 2011, the chairman then of Panthers, Barry Walsh, invited me onto the board. And I joined the Panthers board, and then still working as CEO of the race club. And then I became vice chairman of Panthers. Then I became chairman of Panthers while I'm still working at Hawkesbury. And then the secondary manager, the CEO of Panthers, Warren Wilson, resigned, and the board had a meeting unbeknownst to me, the other board members, and offered me the position of CEO of Panthers. And now, I was a bit sceptical at the time. I thought it might have been too big a job for me.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what was the state of play of the group at that time?
The state of play when I came on in 2011 was disastrous. We had a debt of something like 112 million. We were making 12 million a year and paying out 12 million in interest on our borrowings. You know, interest rates were high, and we went about then strategically selling some clubs we had and lowering the debt, and Warren Wilson, to his credit, done all that and got the debt down. And then I arrived here in 2016 to continue from then to where I am today.
And obviously a lot of success has come over that period of time, but I'm sure it wasn't all easy going. Was there a time when you realised, I think we've got this right, both from a football sense and from a club sense?
Yeah. I thought we got it right when we got the debt to a level we could handle and interest rates started to go down. I was confident then we could make enough money. I was confident that if we got all the businesses together and we all realised we were working for the one organisation, where before I came, there was the football department and there was the big Panthers club and other clubs. And you can't have that, you've all got to be one. And once we worked out that we all had to be one, and in that process, there's people who get hurt, people lose their jobs and so forth, and we bring new people on. We got that right, and from that day on, it's been successful. And when I knew we had it right when we brought Ivan Cleary back.
Yep. I
knew we probably just didn't have it 100%, but then we had to make a hard decision and release Phil Gould out of the organisation. He'd done a great job with Matty Cameron with the pathways. It was time to hand it all over to Ivan. And I was only looking at an article this morning in the Telegraph in 2018 when we re-signed Ivan. They said, "What's your expectations?" I said, "We've got to win a comp within 5 years with the talent we've got." And fortunately, we've won 2 in the 5 years.
2, and maybe some more coming the way things are going. I did want to ask you about that. I remember I interviewed Ivan last year around this time, and he talked a lot about culture And I was interested to hear about how the culture in the football team had to stay the same as the leadership team and perhaps as the whole club and group of businesses. Is that where you've gotten to, do you think, culturally within the organisation now?
Yeah, I think culture within the organisation is great. They all respect each other. We've got nobody here that thinks they're better than the other person, whether it's the footballers or the football department or the employees over at our club at Panthers. It's all one organisation, they realise that. I'm head of the group, I don't think I'm any better than anybody else. There's not much need for anybody else to think that way either, and they don't, which is good. And we respect all the people that are young and coming through the place. And we don't have a great turnover of staff, especially in the football department.
Yep.
The only turnover we have when somebody pinches us.
Yeah, your coaches.
And, we lost 2 coaches last year, but that's a good sign because
Yep.
you know they'll want to come to a place to learn and then go on and further their careers. And some footballers have done that and financially been very successful.
Yeah, I remember you saying to me at another lunch once that there's no job within the club that's too big for you, and I think setting that standard as the CEO is really critical in making sure that culture is true culture, not just something that's just talked about. I did want to touch on that because it's been in the media a lot in rugby league circles lately around the role of a coach versus a GM of football versus a CEO and even a board. You know, what's the Panthers' take on how those roles operate?
Look, everybody's got a role to play, and we like to sort of keep it into certain silos, and then we get together and spread that information. We're very fortunate. We've got a wonderful board, a wonderful chairman, and they're not in the business of picking footballers or working out whether they can play or not. That's not their job.
Yeah.
Their job is there to make sure that we run the place properly and our governance is 100% correct and we play within the rules. We've got Ivan, he's the coach, and he's got coaches underneath him. That's his job, to coach the players to play. The players, it's their job to play and hopefully win as many games as they can. And our staff, Matt Cameron, his job is then to run the football department and be collaborative with everybody inside that place, and which they are. They all get on terrifically. So we have a retention committee. The 7 on that, they're the people to discuss and buy the players and sell the players and make sure the cap is right. Matt Cameron's the head of that with Ivan. We've got our 2 assistant coaches on it. Myself is on it, and we have a couple of pathways people on it as well. So
right.
That's where the decisions are made there. They're taken to the board, told that that's what that thing. The board never overrules that retention committee, unless it was because of a cultural matter or
Sure.
a discipline matter, you know, that they needed to attend to, that we didn't know something about.
So they stick to the compliance governance framework.
That's what they
do.
That's what they do, and it's and we don't have a chairman who wants to be in the media at all. He knows that, you know, it's not his job to be in the media. I get paid to do that. So does Matt Cameron, and so does Ivan.
Yeah.
So we don't have any crossovers there or so forth, and it's pretty easy if you do that. And the beauty of the organisation, as I said before, there's no egos. There's nobody wants to be on top of the tree saying, I've done this or I've done that. We all do well at the moment, and you know, we hit hurdles too that we've got to get over, and but there's nobody out there wanting to walk on their own and say, oh, this is me, you know. They don't do that.
Yeah, it's interesting you say the no egos thing, because I think maybe the media perhaps portrays some of the Panthers players as having ego on the back of their success, but you're talking about a different thing. You're talking about being confident and having an ego on the field versus as a team. No one thinks they're better than anyone else, and everyone supports each other and works together. Yeah.
The ego that the media talk about happened here about 3 or 4 years ago when we played Canberra. Canberra had a very good reserve grade side. I was talking to Donny Ferner, and he said, oh, we got this good side, and I said, well, be a little bit careful. I said, our blokes go all right, you know, the reserve grade, and I think we give them a bit of a hiding there, and we come out and beat them in the first grade. And that was when the players started jumping on top of each other. Yeah. And Don and Ricky reckons they were smart, Alex. They were just enjoying their football. They're 21-year-old, 22-year-old kids having fun. And I think the problem was happened was they seen it too often because they scored too many tries.
Yeah. Oh, look, my 6-year-old son, when he scores a goal in soccer, runs to the corner and does the Cristiano Ronaldo celebration. So it is just part of that youthful excitement. So, look, obviously there's a lot of positives on the field there, but there's also a lot of positives going off the field for the Panthers at the moment. You've just recently opened the Pullman Hotel and the Conference Centre, and you've touched on some things of the players and some of the work they're doing in the community and the impact that they're making on the local community there. Can you share some insights into what else is happening off the field for the Panthers?
Look, how us being in existence is for the Penrith community. That's what we've got to do. We've got to make the money, we've got to play football, but we've got to look after the community. And I think we do that very, very well. Like our players visit the hospitals and the schools in the area on a regular basis. And I wouldn't know how many caps Nathan Cleary and Jerome Luai and Brian Toho and et cetera, sign a week. It's amazing, And you never hear them whingy. They're always last to leave the field after signing for kids and taking photos and so forth. So they do a wonderful job, and I don't know what would happen to Penrith if you took Panthers out of Penrith. The city would be dead. Like it's the whole focus of Penrith, and yes, we're just opening next week the new Pullman Hotel and a 1,000-seated convention centre. In that, we've also got a community centre where we don't charge for the communities to go there for meetings and so forth. Great. So there's a great benefit to the community. It's a $140 million bill, so we've got to get it right. And I just toured the building today, and I'll probably hand the keys to them tomorrow. It's the most magnificent building you would ever see. So
I got a sneak peek last Friday. I was lucky enough to go and do a tour, and it has been done very well, and it's a huge space. So we'll certainly be happy to help promote some of our conferences and things like that to be held there.
That'll be great.
What two wins in a row, top of the ladder on the football side of things. How long can the Panthers sustain this level of success? You've almost exceeded the Eels team of the 80s, and I told you I was going to throw Parramatta in there somewhere.
Poor old Parramatta, yeah.
Do you think this can be sustained over 5-10 year period?
Look, the pathway system we've got and what you see and what you hear the coaches say that's underneath the first grade side coming through, and these young kids that they've signed now on longer deals, I've got no doubt it could keep going, because Ivan signed till 27, Nathan signed till 27. The three best halfbacks apart from Nathan are 34. He's 24. Yeah. So if he improves that much in 10 years, like how good's the team going to be? Yeah. And the thing that people keep saying too in the organisation, our team's young. Like they're not 34 after they won the competition last year. They averaged 25 years of age. Yeah, so there's still plenty of time, and then we've got to lose $1 million worth of players a year. But luckily, we've been able to do that and sustain our performances on the field, sort of thing. So, yeah, I wouldn't. I don't know how long it'll go for, but we're going to have a lot of fun.
You sure are, and I know Jeremy and the sponsorship team's happy while you guys keep winning, and he's been great at looking after us through our journey with you over the last 8 years. Yeah. Just one final question for you, Brian. Everyone likes talking about Peter V'landys. You've obviously had experience in the NRL and in racing. What's your insight, what's your takes into Peter and how he's run the game since he's been involved?
Look, Peter V'landys, in my opinion, is the most powerful man in New South Wales. He's more powerful than the Premier, I think. He seemed to have more power than Perrottate anyway. He's done a marvellous job. He's done a marvellous job in racing. I'm fortunate. I've been close to Peter for a long time, and Peter, I gave the final tick for Peter to get the job in New South Wales racing. A provincial representative asked me what I thought of him, because I worked with him in the privatisation of the TAB back in 1998. Right. And I said he'd be brilliant, and they gave him the job, and he's done a marvellous job. Like the prize money was back in those days in Sydney was $50,000 on a Saturday. Well, now it's $150,000. Yeah. $20 million races, $10 million races.
Yeah, the Everest.
Yeah. So everybody in racing from top to bottom are earning something and surviving, which is great. And I had a little to do with him getting on the commission for New South Wales Rugby League. Phil Gould asked me what I thought of him. And I said, I can tell you this about Peter V'landys. I said, we've got no money now, the New South Wales, the NRL. But I said, if you bring him on, I said, I'm certain in 2 years' time we'll have a nice bank account. Well, we used to borrow 100 million from our TV deal up front first,
Yep.
so we started 100 behind. And now Peter's got 300 million in the bank. So what I said was right. We had a meeting one day with Nick Politis, Nick Pappas, I think. Ray Dibb was there, and Gould, and from then on, Peter joined the commission, and he's chairman now, and you've seen what he did to get through COVID for all the sides and all that. He's good. He doesn't share his ideas with a lot of people. Sometimes it's his way or the highway. So,
Yep.
but you couldn't complain like the state that the game's in now and the amount of money that the players are earning. The clubs are all financially sound. If you go broke now as a rugby league club, well, you shouldn't be in the game, because there's enough money to run the organisation, whether you're running last or first. So we all get the same amount of money, but it's enough to sustain what you've got to do in your business. So, but no, but simply, he's been great, and as I said, he's got power that's unbelievable.
Yeah, I think he did an exceptional job, particularly in COVID, as you talked about. And it's really nice to see the Warriors doing well now after having a really couple of hard years away from home. It's nice to see them having some success, but largely because, really Peter kept the game going when others were struggling. So.
Yeah.
Brian, I think that's all we've got time for. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for the insights. It's a great club, doing great things at the moment. And even though I'm a Parramatta supporter, certainly enjoying our battles of the West with you guys, but it's just great to see what the club is doing, both on the field, but also in the community, and what you're doing in Penrith more broadly. So thank you.
No, thanks, Charles.